1 p.m. stream. Thank you, everybody who's going to be joining us shortly. I truly appreciate it. I had a great stream. I guess technically this morning, last night, 1 a.m. It was a blast. And yeah, now I'm here, 1 p.m., August 5th. I wanted to talk a little bit about my recent trip to Chicago, Illinois, as well as Glenview, Illinois, as well as Joliet, Illinois, and the Masonic events I got to take part in while I was there. I'm just getting my poll question ready. Give me 1 second. Let's get this sorted out. Here we go. All right, let's give it a minute. Let's see who joins. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. For now, we'll start with the typical way we start. Any questions you have about Freemasonry? Any thoughts, any comments, jump in the chat and let me know. And then we'll kind of go from there. I'll talk about my trip to Chicago, how much I enjoyed it, as well as what I have coming up in the next few weeks in the month of in the month of August in particular. I'm very tired. I have my coffee, so I'll be okay. I have my delicious coffee, which is definitely helping me. I'm getting to the age now where I definitely need a little bit more coffee to keep me going after busy weekends. But that's okay. That makes it more fun, you know? As long as I have coffee, I will be okay. But we're going to give it a minute. We're going to see who joins. Please take a moment, as I was saying. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. By the way, interesting enough, today, as some people know, my other favorite love is scary movies. Today was the anniversary of Halloween H2O 20 years later, which was a great Halloween movie and a great movie. So please, as always, take that moment, hit that like and subscribe button, answer my poll question. If you don't follow Square Compass Promotions on Instagram, then please do so. Instagram.com/square_and_compass_promotions. Or you can just search Square Compass Promotions on Instagram and find us that way. And thank you to everybody who's been here thus far. I'll just wait for people to jump in the chat, say hello. As usual, the first hour or so is just going to be us hanging out, chatting, and then we'll switch over and talk about specific topics, such as my recent trek to beautiful Chicago, Illinois, which, as always, I've talked about a million times, one of my absolute favorite places in the world to be. So but first, we wait to see who jumps in the chat. And if they have any questions about Freemasonry, any questions, any thoughts, positive, negative, or neutral. I've been a Mason since 2007. I don't know everything about Freemasonry, but I know a fair bit. Today is the big day, Courtney. Today is the big day. So congratulations to you. You are absolutely going to crush it, I have no doubt, as will the Lodge. So probably another 7 hours for you to go, give or take. So I have no doubt you will absolutely have a great time. And yeah, enjoy it. Just enjoy it. That's the key. Especially when you're brand new or early to the experience, right? Just have fun and enjoy it. Some guys try to be super serious and pay attention to everything and all that stuff. And certainly the Lodge members will take it serious, and you should too, but you should also just have fun and enjoy it. I do have a Mason ring. I don't have it with me, though. I keep it actually with my Masonic items at my Masonic building. But I do have one. My dad gave it to me. And it came from my grandfather on my mom's side, who was a Mason. And then I think it might have come from his father as well. So we're not positive. So it's got a really cool amount of history to it, which is something that I love. It's interesting how those 1 a.m. streams seem to do pretty well compared to the 1 p.m. streams. But actually, one thing I'm going to be doing in August is doing another 24-hour live stream. That stream, I'm going to show off all of my different Masonic items, my Masonic pins, coins, gifts, souvenirs, etc., etc., and that will include the ring. Probably it was like World War I times. I mean, I don't know for sure, but probably because my grandfather fought in World War II. So he would have got it in I don't know when he joined, but he would have had the ring in the 40s or 50s. So 30 years earlier would have been World War I times. It is a good feeling, Courtney. It's a good feeling for yourself. It's also a good feeling for the lodge. It's also a good feeling for me as somebody who hopefully in some way maybe encouraged you to take the steps to join. So I'm really proud as well to see you joining. And even if I didn't have anything to do with it, I'm just proud that you are becoming a Freemason. But yeah.
Ford employee pricing is on now.
I don't know what that was. Was Napoleon Bonaparte? Yeah, I think he was. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure he was. Oh no, Napoleon Hill. So he was an author. For a second, they were talking about Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Hill was an author. I don't know. I've never heard of him before. Looks like he was. This is just a quick Google search, so take that for what it's worth. Clorox. Looks like he was reported as being a Freemason, but we not got any evidence or proof that he was. So some people just thought he was. I'm not sure what made them think he was, but it looks like there's never been any proof that he was. You need to be careful, right? Sometimes people get lumped into Freemasonry for various reasons without actually being Freemasons. So not that anyways, it looks like no evidence to support that he was. That is good coffee right now. I need that coffee after my very busy but very fun weekend. Like I said, I'm at the age now where I'm not able to recover as quickly from fun trips without needing some coffee. So if you are just joining us, please jump in the chat. Say hello. Any questions about Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, answer my poll question. If you get the chance, follow me on Instagram. Instagram.com/square and compass promotions. Well, shout out to you as well, Courtney. Proud of the work that you're doing, and you're going to absolutely crush it, I have no doubt. So keep up the great work. I said the first hour or so, half an hour to 1 hour, is really just hanging out, chatting with people, any questions they may have. And then from there, we go on to specific topics. So let's give it a bit more time. Let's see who jumps in and says hello. It's funny how popular the 1 a.m. stream was. Even last night, I had a great turnout, the 1 a.m. stream. So it does mean something to me. I'm not going to tell you what specifically. Right, there's some, there's a reference to one of our Masonic degrees in that. Also, I guess there's a book. Which was called Mahabone, The Secrets of Masonry, or something to that effect, which purported to reveal the secrets of Masonry. I've not read it yet. So welcome, Red Lighting. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, hit that like, and to everybody watching this, take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button if you're new. And Red Lighting, thank you for joining. How's it going? Street name Blue Lighting. Well, your name here is Red Lighting, so, you know, we'll go with that. All is well, Raised Eyebrow. I hope you're doing well also. How is your day going? Go to school. Well, you should always go to school every Friday. I hope that you have a good day at school. Red Lighting. Like I said, we're just waiting for some people to jump in and chat. We will, like I said, half an hour to 1 hour in, I'll start talking about my specific subjects, specific things I want to talk about, including my recent trip to Illinois, what I have coming up on the Square and Compass podcast, as well as just some interesting things I've discovered in the news. More information recently from the James Webb Space Telescope, which is something I've actually talked about on my channel and written about, which does reference Freemasonry. You may be surprised to know. We'll talk about how that is. Question, go ahead. What is the question you've got, Red Lighting? Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master, is my favorite horror movie. Thank you, Go Maroon Brothers. It's an old bar. It doesn't exist anymore, sadly, but it was a bar here in Windsor where they used to do open mic nights. I used to go there for stand-up comedy a lot. I used to perform stand-up comedy there. It was a lot of fun. It was a great bar, so it's been gone for, I have no idea how long. 10 years, more than that probably, but it's crazy how much time flies. What is going on, WNB? I hope you're doing well. X says hello. Thank you for just stopping by. I hope that you are doing well also. Peanut butter is great. Peanut butter is good for you. Lots of, back when I was exercising more regularly and stuff, I still try to exercise regularly, but peanut butter is a great source of protein. So there you go. I hope everybody is doing well, though. As always, please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Let's give it a bit more time. Let's see who else joins us before we start on the main subjects, which again is going to be my recent trip to Illinois, what I did there, the Masonic events I attended, and then other things in the news and how I think it relates to Freemasonry. Never weight trained, but I trained for professional wrestling, so never was that interested in putting on too much bulk. It was more trying to get my cardio up, but I would, hit weights a couple of days a week, and then the rest of it would be more cardio based. You said that I'm not a big exercise guy. I prefer to just sleep and do as little as possible because I'm very lazy, but that's a whole other can of tuna. So chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay. Thank you, Courtney. And your support for my channel has been a big inspiration to me to keep going as well. So thank you for that. I did. If you type in Cameron Adamson wrestling or Cameron Adamson wrestling referee, you may see me pop up. They did some stories about me here in Canada, which was really cool. So you may have to find me on the Google. But before you do that, make sure you follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/square and compass promotions. Well, Pennywise from the 90s show would crush Pennywise from the 90s TV show would crush Pennywise from 2025, from the 2010s, 2020s movies. Thank you, Fred. John Cena is one of my favorite wrestlers. Actually, John Cena is my favorite wrestler of all time. This tattoo, which says the next one, is in honor of John Cena because whenever John Cena was asked his favorite match, he would always say the next one. And so I got this in honor of John Cena, as well as you see in the middle there, the pink square and compasses. So please, Fred, hit the like and subscribe button if you're new. Freddy Krueger, zero question, Freddy Krueger. I like Hellraiser. I have nothing against him. I think it's a great series. I think it might be the most underappreciated horror series. A lot of the Hellraiser movies are incredible, like Hellraiser Deader, Hellworld. Those are great, great films that don't get enough appreciation. But no, it's Freddy Krueger all the way. I mean, if not now, then when was my philosophy on that, Fred. Like, I understand, because I'm a huge John Cena fan, and I just loved John Cena. Part of me didn't want him to turn heel, but at the same time, it's like, well, if you're not going to turn him heel now, like, when else do you get the chance, Hellraiser 4 is great. I mean, to me, like, Hellraiser 3, 4, 5, 6. So, I don't remember all the titles now. The Hellraiser in space. So, Hellraiser Part 3, Hell on Earth, is great. Hellraiser 4, Hellraiser 5, basically Hellraiser 3 to Hellraiser 8, I think are all really, really great movies. Yes, it was CBC. DJ Needle, I'm glad Brock is back as well. Brock is one of the greats, one of the greatest of all time. So by the way, I sent you an email, DJ. I forwarded you an email. I hope you got it. I, though, just DJ's here, I'm incredibly excited. August 16th, Square and Compass Promotions is going to be at the Windsor Hip Hop Festival. It's going to be an absolute blast and a lot of fun. So yeah, I can't wait to be there. I'm going to be live streaming from 12 to 2. I'll have a table set up, possibly a table with temple blooms from the Windsor Masonic Temple, or Temple Ballroom, where we're going to, it's going to be a lot of fun. So Square and Compass Promotions will be there August 16th. Freemasons should support and care about the artists and the community artists that make our communities successful. I think we should support them. The Masonic Temple, to its credit, has been doing a lot of work to support local artists, whether it be providing space for painters, and other artists to display their work. We have the ballroom, which now, regularly houses theater productions and plays. and artistic events. But another way we can do that is by supporting hip hop artists and hip hop festivals and music festivals in general. So I can't wait to be there August 16th. It's going to be a blast. Angelique was my first TV crush growing up. Who is Angelique? I do not know. I don't know if you can name all horror characters Red Lighting. I feel like that'd be really hard, but let's see. Let's see what you got. I wish you the best of luck. By the way, to the 14% of you that do not follow Score and Compass Promotions on Instagram, please follow us on Instagram. Just type in Score and Compass Promotions on Instagram. You should be able to find us that way. Hellraiser 4 is a great film. Like I said, Hellraiser 3, I'm going to go through them all now. In about 30 minutes, I'll start talking about my main subject, which was my recent trip to Illinois. So let's get the list. Here we go. My favorites. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Hellraiser Bloodline, which was the fourth one. Hellraiser Inferno, Hellraiser Hellseeker, Hellraiser Deader, which is one of my favorites. Hellworld and Revelations. Those are all really, really great movies. So, okay. My first crush was the nurse from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. And if you've seen that movie, then you know. If you know, you know. Then my first crush was the nurse from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. I think if you were born in the 80s and your seminal horror movie experiences were the Nightmare on Elm Street series, then I'm pretty sure that, I'm pretty sure that almost everybody's first crush was the nurse from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. And then it switched over to, after I saw Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, I saw Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, and then Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. And then my crush was the Alice Johnson character, played by Lisa Wilcox. Jason or Leatherface? Jason. Without question, Jason. Again, I like Texas Chainsaw. I think that series is classic, but it does not compete with Jason. Pennywise, Freddy Fazbear, Freddy Krueger, Jason, Chucky, Ghostface, Jeepers Creepers, Slenderman, Willy's Wonderland, Banana Split, Leatherface. You're missing a few. Luther, Marshall, Kate Beckinsale, I think is who you're referring to. By the way, Luther, welcome. Thank you for being here. Don't forget, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do so. Instagram.com/ScoreandCompassPromotions. I hope everybody, though, is doing well. Well, that's a whole different can of tuna, right? That's a different thing. Welcome back, Ilker. I prefer my horror to be not real. The world is full of real enough horrors. I like horror movies because they, it's kind of an escape from the real horrors. But I hope, as always, everybody is doing well. Also, we will be talking today about just some interesting news stories I've seen, some stuff that connects to, once again, my Masonic stories I've written and connects to Freemasonry in different ways. So we're just going to give it a bit of time, wait to see who else joins, though. It does for a lot of people. You're not alone in that. You're absolutely not alone in that fascination. right? A lot of people find real horror, like real crime fascinating. Like true crime documentaries are going through the roof right now in terms of popularity for various reasons. It's just not something I've ever been super interested in. Like I said, I prefer my horror to be on the silver screen, which, by the way, talk about an absolutely stacked year for horror movies in general. I mean, so far it's been great, but still coming up, we've got Weapons, Him, The Long Walk, Shelby Oaks. Before that, we had I Know You Did Last Summer. We had Until Dawn. We had Final Destination Bloodlines. It's been a heck of a horror movie year. I did see 28 Days Later. I did not see 28 Years Later. Oh, maybe you've got your... Welcome, Dad. Maybe you've got your notifications turned off. When I make it back to Winnipeg, which I don't know when it will be, I will see if I can't figure out why that is. Together came out this year. It's been a stacked year for horror movies. Well, that's not quite all red lighting. There's more than that, but you listed a bunch. You listed a really great number. Never seen 28 Years Later. I'm not, of all my horror movie defending, which is, frequent, I've never been a big fan of the zombie genre of horror movies. Of all the kind of creatures that exist within horror, zombies are probably my least favorite. So I tend to go slashers first and foremost. Then I'll switch over to... After slashers, I like vampires. Never been a huge fan of zombies, but, tonight is your initiation, Courtney, and it's going to be an awesome time, I have no doubt. Never seen Walk of Death, Ilker, so I don't know what that one refers to. What's my standpoint on werewolves? Standpoint. I mean, I like werewolf movies. We are back, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. I was traveling. I got to visit a lot of my Masonic brothers in. Got to visit a lot of my Masonic brothers in Chicago and in Illinois, which I love to do. It's 5 hours away, so it's going to be an absolute. It was an absolute great time. I was going to talk a little bit about that trip. But Mr. Keeps on Ticking, thank you again for being here. Truly appreciate it. And thank you again for your support on Patreon. You join, by the way, I forgot to mention, I should mention this more often. Right now, there is a free Patreon trial. So for the first, you can join for a week for free before you get charged if you join at certain levels, certain tiers. So... you can try it for a week to be part of it, just to see what you think, and then you're going to go from there. So I think for Mr. Keeps on Ticking, it's August 8th that your trial finishes. And don't forget to get your special items. Mr. Keeps on Ticking info at squareandcompass.ca. That's my email. Just shoot me off an email with your information, with your address, and I will get those items to you. My plan right now, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, is to mail them next week, probably. Today's the 5th. Probably on the 11th of next week is when I'm going to get your items mailed out. And Courtney, I did mail your stuff out already because you've got your... I want to get it to you hopefully before your initiation. Looks like I didn't quite get it to you in time, but that's okay. You should get it shortly. Welcome back, Red Lighting. By the way, 10 votes. The two of you who do not follow me on Instagram, what are you doing with your lives? Follow me on Instagram. Live your lives on, on the edge. It's super fun. No worry, Ilker. I appreciate you being here. I just say to everybody because there's like 9 people watching right now, so. You're smart. Well, actually, though, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, I am uh, on the X. I used to have well, I still do. I have my Square and Compass Instagram, which is compass_square, Twitter, and then I have my personal X, which I use far more often, at CAMERONADAMSO16. If you go to x.com/CAMERONADAMSO16, you can follow me on X. Like I said, I post fairly frequently on my personal account. I can't get into my Square and Compass account. It's a whole thing, so, it's a whole challenge. I can't figure out how to get back into that account. But my personal account, I still post on it frequently, including about this channel. What's the good news? I'm always happy to hear it. Congratulations, Ilker. That's wonderful to hear. You are absolutely, I know how terrible cancer can be on a family. My mom passed away from cancer. My dad had it, but he recovered. And so congratulations that your mom is done with cancer. Everybody give some hearts in honor of Ilker's mom. We're very, very happy to hear that. Red Lighting, no worries then. No worries at all. I just appreciate you being here. And like I said, Mr. Keeps on Ticking at at CAMERONADAMSO16. Follow me on Twitter. Well, I mean, as always, you want to maintain, a certain level of, I guess, cautious optimism. But if the doctor's saying he's done, one thing I always say, listen to your doctor. One of my favorite quotes from my doctor is, "You don't tell the doctor tells you," which is actually also a quote from Stephen King. So there's a cool connection to two things. But yeah, so if the doctor's saying it, then good on you. And I've talked a bunch of times in the past about how Freemasonry helps people's health and well-being, which it does. And I think, that's a great thing to, it's a great thing to celebrate. And I'm happy for your mom. I'm happy for your whole family. But yeah, I've talked a lot in the past about Freemasonry and how it improves people's health, makes them less lonely, which has been shown that the less lonely you are, the better health outcomes you have. Also, the more likely you are to recover from various injuries or heart attacks or strokes. One interesting stat I once read is if you suffer a heart attack or a stroke and you don't get any visitors while you're recovering, you are 2.5 times more likely to have a secondary event or even pass away in the hospital than if you have people coming to visit you. So Ilker, so it's Ilker. But no, I've talked about that a lot. A lot of people don't realize how really how incredibly helpful it is to not be lonely and to not be alone. So. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about my trip to Illinois. I'm going to be talking about that in probably, well, in about half an hour or so. This first 25 or the first hour, I'm just going to wait a little bit longer, see who else jumps on and if they have any questions about Freemasonry. It's interesting, once again, the 1 a.m. streams are doing better than these streams in terms of numbers of people watching. So apparently my audience is like me, a bunch of night owls. Sounds like something from Cinemax, but nobody wants to see that. I assure you of that. But it does have a ring to it. I mean, I should call it Square and Compass ... After Dark. But I remember Cinemax After Dark, which, believe me, that is not something we want on this stream. Nobody wants to see that from Freemasons. Certainly not from me, anyways. That's for sure. As many people have pointed out while streaming, I am not an attractive fellow, so no one wants to see Square and Compass After Dark or Cameron Adamson ... After Dark. It's best if people don't. It's best if I don't. It's best if I don't subject my audience to that. Didn't have cable. French art. See, I never saw any French art films. I do remember though staying up late, sneaking upstairs after 12 o'clock, because again some of those channels had adult content, if you will, so trying to rent adult movies, shall we say, at sleepovers and stuff. But I don't know these French art films, if they were any good or not. I feel like French art films would probably be pretty scarring. Thank you, Spirit. Welcome, Spirit. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, as always, hit that like and subscribe button. I know you're already subscribed in Spirit. I'm just telling that to everybody. In about 20 minutes or so, going to start on the main subject of today's stream, which is going to be my recent trip to Chicago. I'm still recovering from it. It was a blast, but it was a lot of late nights and early mornings. I'm now at that age where I can't recover from all-nighters the way I used to. I feel it much longer. But so long as I keep trying, I'll stay young anyways. Right? We don't get old because, or how's it go? We don't quit playing because we get old. We get old because we quit playing. So we don't stop having all-nighters because we get old. We get old because we stop having all-nighters. Well, don't do that, Ilker. Don't be doing that. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do streams. Yeah, no, I've always, I do think that way as well. Like, as you get older, it can be easier and easier to find reasons to not do things. I think that's a trap. Coffee exists for a reason, and that's to keep us energized, to keep us young. So just drink your coffee, stay up all night, have your fun, go to the parties. Even when you're a million years old, like my dad, go to the parties and have your fun. And yeah, once again, so Spirit is getting raised in October, he says. That's awesome, Spirit. If you do, please let me know. Maybe I'll send you a card or a congratulatory thing. And don't forget, tonight, Courtney is being initiated. And so we're all incredibly excited and proud of Courtney. Keep up the great work, Courtney. You should be proud of yourself. You know, my favorite degree, personally, this is just me, is the fellowcraft degree. My favorite has always been the fellowcraft degree. I'm exception. Most people, I think it's the third degree. Ray, so when you are going through Freemasonry, there are 3 degrees. You're initiated into the first degree, you're passed to the second degree, and then you're raised to the third degree. So when you're getting from your second to third, it's called being raised to the third degree. I don't necessarily know actually why that terminology is used. I'd be really curious to find out. It'd be kind of fun to actually learn where the term raised came from, or why the word raised is used. I'm just creating something quickly here. No worries. I mean, that's why I do this stream, right? Because there's a lot of things people don't know about Freemasonry. And so the thing I love about it is I get the chance to talk to people about it and kind of answer questions people may have. That's my favorite thing about this, is getting a chance to talk to people and answer questions they may have. I'm not sure what a Masonic wedding refers to. Like, I know about weddings that have taken place in Masonic venues, and weddings where, for example, the groom is a Mason, and so he will have his Masonic brothers attend as, like, groomsmen or whatever it might be. But I'm not sure what, like, a Masonic wedding would mean outside of, again, a wedding that takes place in a Masonic venue, or in which the groomsmen and the groom are themselves Freemasons. Well, I try my best to make brains full. My hope is that I can be a really good source of information, right? That's what I want. So, I mean, assuming the wedding is taking place at the Masonic venue, and maybe, there's going to be Masons in the wedding party, but I don't think there's not, to my knowledge, a specific type of, it's not the same as like funerals where you have a Masonic funeral. There's not a specific type of Masonic wedding ceremony, to my knowledge. I could be wrong, right? I could absolutely be incorrect, but it's not something I've ever heard of in the past. If there is something unique to it, I hope you'll let me know on the stream after your buddy gets married, or after your lodge brother gets married, I should say. I would love to learn more about what it looked like. But I've been to weddings at Masonic venues, including with my Masonic brothers several times. So I love it when our buildings are used for any number of things, including for weddings. I think that's a very important, very critical part of kind of Freemasonry, is making sure our buildings find themselves in use as often as possible. Right, I think, and so many of our buildings are just beautiful. They're grand. They have venue spaces. Why would we not, try to take advantage of the space by renting it out for weddings and special events? We're crazy not to. We're going to give it another, let's say, 15 minutes. Then we're going to start talking about my recent trip to Chicago, what I did, what I got up to, as well as what I have coming up for Square Incomes Promotions in August. No worries, Ilker, thank you for being here, as well as some other interesting stories that I've recently seen that I enjoyed checking out on the which I put on my social media channels. Welcome. When you come back, Ilker, please do so. I'm just going to give it a little bit more time. We're going to see who, like I said, jumps in. And then talking about my recent trip to Chicago, the Masonic brothers I hung out with, as well as just the things I did in general when it came to supporting Freemasonry, or hanging out with brothers and supporting their work in supporting Freemasonry. And yeah, we're going to go from there. I'm a White Sox fan, but I think we can like the Cubs as well. We can all cheer for either or, it's fine, but I am personally a White Sox fan. Actually, though, this most recent time, I'll talk about it, but I did go to a baseball game during my recent trip. It was Joliet Slammers baseball game, so in Joliet, Illinois. The Rock Island Metra train goes from LaSalle Station in Chicago to Joliet. It's a long train. It's an hour and a half, but credit to Metra, credit to Illinois. Like, I don't know of any, I'm sure that there's plenty, but I don't know of any other public transit services that, it's an hour and a half trip on one single line to get there, right? Like, I know when I was in Los Angeles, I went from one end of Los Angeles to the other. It took an hour and a half, but I had to get on 3 different buses. Whereas, Rock Island, you're basically downtown Chicago to Joliet in an hour and a half, and it's one complete train, no transfers, super cheap fare. And you're basically in a whole different city, right? Joliet's a different city than Chicago. I don't know. I was very impressed with the service. And White Sox are not doing great. I hear the same thing as well. Honestly, when I'm not in Chicago, I don't really follow them. It's just when I'm in Chicago and have the chance to go to a game, I'll try to go. So, but I'm hoping they start doing better. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I did not, sadly. I did not. But somebody did. Somebody got a baseball. I need to tell my sister, no worries. Himanshu Raj, welcome Himanshu. I hope that if you're new, you'll hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how it's going, and if there's anything that you want to chat about, positive, negative, or neutral when it comes to Freemasonry, any questions you have, please let me know. Follow me on Instagram, etc., etc. I have no idea what that means. We had Himanshu put something else down there. I don't know what that means. 15 votes. Yes, 67%. No, 33%. I know not everybody on here has Instagram, but Blake loves God. I think that's what it says. Blake loves God. I don't mind telling you at all. So Square and Compass Promotions is something I created. It is a personal business, I guess. which is where I post content that explores the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, as well as discuss stories that are of interest to Freemasons. I do these live streams where I talk about Freemasonry. I do, Instagram posts where I talk about Freemasonry. I do email blasts where I talk about Freemasonry, and I produce podcasts where I talk about Freemasonry. And that is Squared Cups Promotions. Then I have my personal YouTube stuff, which is kind of separate, but I still enjoy it, doing those as well, where I talk about other things I enjoy. But Square and Compass Promotions is specifically about creating content to explore the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. Sure, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. I mean, plus if you did that, I wouldn't have to mail you the items. I could just give it to you. But yeah, we could do that. I do not. I have a cat. So Blake loves God. I hope that explained what Square and Compass Promotions is. I hope that you will hit the like and subscribe button as well. I have a Patreon where I produce unique content exclusively for Patreons, and that's how I try to support the channel, as well as sometimes I have written content on my Medium channel, medium.com, where I write things about Freemasonry. What is this? You guys are getting a personal questions, Ilker. Nope, just a cat. Can't get a girl to make it through dinner with me, but maybe one day, who knows? No, ask any questions you want to ask away. I'm always happy to answer questions. In about 9 minutes, though, we will be starting with the main discussion points, which is, again, talking about my recent trip, what I did, maybe some ideas from the trip that you can bring to your Masonic lodge, or your Masonic experience, and all that good jazz. I could use all the help I could get. I could use all the hope I could get. So, yeah, much appreciated. Cats are great. I agree. All I need is a cat. Cats are wonderful and highly underappreciated. I mean, I like dogs too, don't get me wrong, but I much prefer cats. They're like a chill, relaxed roommate, you know? They'll do that. Cats will do that for sure. You get kind of used to it. You know, cats like to just stare at you. My hope is when the cat's staring at me, it's thinking it loves me, but probably it's thinking, if I die, how much food could it get from my corpse? Half Bengal, half Asian leopard cat. That's awesome. That sounds like a really cool cat. Sounds beautiful. My cat is black and white, called Bandit because it looks like it has a mask on its eyes. What are the dogs' names, Ilker? I remember my friend, Ryan had ferrets. I had a cat anyways. So cats are great. Cats are, like I said, cats are like a disinterested roommate, which I appreciate because I'm busy and I don't have time to be, always paying attention to my pets the way people with dogs have to constantly pay attention to them. Most Worshipful Brother Hodder, H-A-U. He was the one who wrote the book, was it? He's from Nebraska, I think, right? He's actually on X. Interesting. I should follow him. Okay, like I said, I'm not. I want to spend more time. I don't know enough about him. I do want to spend more time learning about degrees beyond my 18th degree. He's an old stream, but like I said, I can't speak to the 30th degree of Scottish Rite. Thank you so much. I'm curious if I can find more information about this fella. Other than, like I said, I know he's Nebraska. Oh, maybe I can find him through, because it doesn't like he's posting very much. Maybe I can find him through LinkedIn. And also, it's not called that in this northern jurisdiction. The northern jurisdiction, it's called Grand Inquisitor, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the southern and the northern jurisdiction degrees when it comes to, consistory. Just sent him an invitation. Thank you, Blake Loves God. I truly appreciate it. Right, like Albert Pike, that famous Freemason that everybody loves to talk about on these streams. He was southern jurisdiction, not northern jurisdiction, Scottish Rite. So that does affect kind of the nature of the rituals and things of that nature. But I cannot say anything else about it because I don't know anything else about it. Like in my focus when I talk about Freemasonry, it really does tend to focus on the first 3 degrees. Because that is the foundation, and that is what matters the most, really. On anything else, anything else, like I love Scottish Rite. I support Scottish Rite. I think it's a great organization. Same thing with York Rite. Same thing with Shrine. But for me, one piece of advice I often give to new Masons, especially new Master Masons, is focus on your Blue Lodge. Focus on your Craft Lodge. That's the foundation. That's the most important thing. If those are not strong, our rites are going to really struggle as well. So, by all means, shoot me off a message. I'd love to see the YouTube presentation. And like I said, I know very little about him, but and honestly, Nebraska Freemasonry is someplace I want to visit as well. But I'd love to check out the presentation. The one thing I would also say, though, without having seen his presentation, to keep in mind is there is a difference between, saying and doing things in a metaphorical perspective and literal perspective. Right. So, for example, I once knew someone. I used to work in a legal aid clinic, and we had this Middle Eastern woman come in, and she was saying, if I'm lying, I will rip my tongue out. If I'm lying, may I die right now, right? And obviously she wasn't being literal. She wasn't going to literally rip her tongue out. She wasn't going to literally keel over and die. It was more of a metaphorical representation of the truth, quote unquote, or that she was speaking the truth. When it comes to the tiara stabbing and Scottish Rite, I have no idea what it would represent metaphorically, or if it would represent anything. Having said that, though, as I always point out, I know many, many Catholic Freemasons, Freemasonry is very popular in the Philippines, where, Catholicism is also very popular. And here in Canada, I've known many Catholic Freemasons. I've even known some Catholic Scottish Rite Masons. So um, the idea that Catholicism and Freemasonry are not compatible, Catholic Church may argue that, but from a Freemason's perspective, so long as you are believe in a supreme being, you are able to welcome and join Freemasonry. And like I said, I've known many Catholic Freemasons. And I've even known, now this is more northern jurisdiction, but I've even known some Catholic Scottish Rite Masons, including some Catholic 32nd degree Scottish Rite Freemasons. So I guess you kind of have to take that for whatever it's worth. I love eating foods in Chicago, but during this recent trip, and I'll talk about actually the foods I ate because might as well support local. I went to my favorite restaurants, my favorite places to eat, and tell you what those are when I talk about my trip. I love the movie From Hell, Dad. It has a ton of Masonic content, and it's awesome. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Certainly, it is my favorite. Certainly, it is my favorite Masonic movie, or my favorite movie with Masonic references is From Hell. It's a great film, and I love it. So, I think you've seen it before, Dad, actually, years ago. I think we watched it together. This would have been, who knows how long ago, over 20 years probably. But if you get the chance to check it out, I would do so. Sadly, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, I'm not that smart. I don't know what postulated means. It means questioned, right? So does that mean you saw From Hell and considered becoming a Freemason? Sorry, postulated means suggest or assume the existence of fact or truth. I don't know what postulated means. I hope you like the movie From Hell. Like I said, I've never minded when Freemasonry is kind of used in movies as the bad guys or the villains, or the more conspiratorial side of it. Um, and I kind of enjoy that aspect of it. Oh, me. No, I saw it years before I became a Freemason. But joining it did not make me, it's not as though I watched it and suddenly decided I did not want to join Freemasonry. It probably, in some ways, made me want to join even more. Who knows? You might be right. Keeps on ticking. Having said that, I think Mr. Keeps on Ticking, you said you were going to watch From Hell. Did you watch it, and what did you think of it? I don't know what revive means, Ilker, but I did take first aid, so maybe I can revive somebody. If I get there, and who knows? I took first aid, I took CPR. I hope I never have to try. Obviously, the most important thing with that is if I see anybody in crisis, the first thing I'm doing is making sure I can either call 911 or somebody calls 911 to get the professionals in before I do anything else. But I am proud to have my first aid. I think it behooves Freemasons to get their first aid training. I think it's really important that we try our best to get our first aid, and we try our best to, I think that stuff matters. First aid training. I think we as Freemasons have a responsibility to our brothers to be prepared. So if any one of them does suffer in any way, shape, or form, or have a bad, whatever it is, has a heart attack in lodge, has a stroke in lodge, we have the skills and abilities necessary to try and help them and to know what to do, right? Just as I also think it's important that we as Freemasons have food handler certifications, especially for junior wardens. We have WMIS training, we have working with disability training, we have SMART Serve. I think all of that stuff is absolutely vitally important and matters. So good. Good for you, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. So maybe you're a Mason at heart. Who knows? But I think that stuff matters, especially because I'm a big believer that one of the goals of Freemason, not just of being a Freemason, but of just being a citizen, is make it easy as possible for the community to help you and for society to help you, right? So, for example, you might get sick, you might not, you probably will sooner or later get sick with something, part of being alive. But if you can keep yourself as healthy as you can, then you reduce the chances of getting sick and you reduce the severity of the illness you get. And that stuff matters because it makes it easier for, the hospitals and the medical system to take care of you and to take care of other people. Same thing with getting vaccinated. That's why I think getting vaccinated is a Masonic responsibility, which I know is not popular. Not everybody agrees with that by any means, but I'm a firm believer in that to be a Freemason, one of your responsibilities is to get vaccinated, because that way you're less likely to get ill, you're less likely to pass on illnesses, and that again saves community resources and medical resources for other people. Help yourself to be a place to help others. I agree with that, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, 100%. So, Lapis, I've never met a Luciferian Mason. I've heard of them. One thing to keep in mind is Luciferian and Satanism are different. A lot of people think they're the same thing. But, Satanism, to my knowledge, would not be compatible with Freemasonry. Certainly, I've actually met somebody who was a Satanist who was interested in joining Freemasonry. And when I spoke to him about what Freemasonry was and is, he decided he didn't want to join. But, like I said, I know many Catholic Freemasons. And I've known some Catholic Scottish Rite Masons. Now, in the northern jurisdiction, keep in mind, but you can take that for whatever it is worth. But I agree with Mr. Keeps on Ticking. I think you need to be in a place to help others. You need to take care of yourself, right? You need to take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of your well-being. Sorry, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. I disagree with you on that one. I'm a 100% believer that we should all get the COVID vaccine. I think being a Freemason, one of our responsibilities is to get the COVID vaccine. But having said that, that is my opinion. Many Freemasons disagree with me, some quite vehemently. And I know many, Freemasons who have very different views on both vaccines in general and the COVID vaccine. But I think it was our responsibility during COVID to get it. I have no idea what a Thelemite is. As you should, Ilker. I think we all should. There is, like I said, there is a Church of Satanism, and I'm not going to knock anybody. You can join whatever you want to join. But I am not a fan of him either. Yeah, we're northern jurisdiction. I can't speak for all of Canadian Scottish Rite, but certainly Windsor is northern jurisdiction, or Ontario is northern jurisdiction. Let me just double check. Oh, sorry, we're not northern jurisdiction either. We are governed by the Supreme Council 33rd degree Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite, which is a completely separate entity. So forgive me for that. We're not southern or northern. We are Supreme Council, which I should have known. I actually do know that because I am a Scottish Rite Mason. We are Supreme Council 33rd degree. So, I think I often think of it as northern jurisdiction because it seems to me, based on my understanding, our rituals in Scottish Rite and the name of the degrees and stuff more closely aligned with northern jurisdiction than with southern jurisdiction, if that makes any sense. So that tends to be why I think of the same. But yeah, Supreme Council in Canada. That is our governing Scottish Rite bodies. Well, not British jurisdiction. We're under our own. So Freemasonry is under its own jurisdiction, which is so in Canada it goes by province. So there's for Freemasonry there is the Grand Lodge of Canada in the province of Ontario, which is Freemasonry Ontario. There is Grand Lodge of Manitoba, Grand Lodge of Quebec, Grand Lodge of Alberta. Like each province has its own Grand Lodge. And then for Canadian Scottish Rite, there is the Supreme Council, which meets out of excuse me. So Scottish Rite in Canada has its headquarters in Hamilton, and they are responsible for Freemasonry across Canada. Right, ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry of Canada, which is separate from northern or southern jurisdictions. Yes, it's called the, let me just see if I can find. It's called the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry of Canada. Right, that is scottishritecanada.ca. Actually, what I'll do is I'll leave the link here. But to my understanding, the ritual and kind of format is similar to, or it follows the northern jurisdiction, like more than the southern, like in terms of names and stuff. Like, for example, the Thelema is actually, I'll have to study it more. It looks like in Canada, we're somewhat more closer to southern than northern jurisdictions. Certainly that's why, for example, we have one quote from Albert Pike, which pops up fairly frequently. Thelema is, I used to know this, right? Western esoteric and occult philosophy, it's Aleister Crowley stuff, right? Thelema is Aleister Crowley. I don't know a ton about rectified Scottish Rite, right? It's 4 symbolic lodge degrees, 2 orders of knight nobility. It has the first 3 degrees in the Blue Lodge, but it looks like, yeah, I do not know a ton about the rectified, so I have to look up more about it and see more about what I can find out about it. But yeah, I think it's a less number of degrees off the top of my head. Just taking care of something quickly. Would it be fair? I've been to Dubai. It's awesome. I mean, I don't think so, right? Especially because you do have the northern jurisdiction, which is, very different than the southern jurisdiction. And Freemasonry or Scottish Rite predates Albert Pike. So I don't know. I don't think I would call it Pike's Rite. I think Albert Pike obviously was very influential in Freemasonry, in particularly in Scottish Rite, but I wouldn't call it Pike's Rite because again, northern jurisdiction is a big part of it. I guess in Canada we actually follow southern jurisdiction a little bit more closely than northern jurisdiction, but I think Pike was just an influential part of Scottish Rite. Well, it's Thelema, Thelema. I mean, I wouldn't mind being called Pike's Boys. It'd be kind of a funny thing to be called. But, that's a whole separate can of tuna altogether. It'd be a fun nickname to have. Although it is kind of, because when I see the term Thelma or Thelema, I tend to think of Thelma as well. So, it's an interesting kind of connection. I did dispatch an observer. I did take the COVID shot. I've actually taken many COVID shots. I've taken, oh my gosh, 4? I have the list, the number I took somewhere, 4 or 5. Got my boosters. I tend to take my shots as a rule. If I'm traveling, I'll take vaccinations for, like hepatitis A, hepatitis B. If I'm traveling somewhere, I'll try to get my vaccines that I need as a general rule. Because like I said, I think that we in Freemasonry have a responsibility to get vaccinated. So... Well, many Scottish Rite Freemasons, really, really like Albert Pike. Many Scottish Rite Freemasons really don't like Albert Pike. I mean, I think in some ways Pike has been the importance of Albert Pike has been overstated. 100% in the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry. He's been grossly overstated, right? His work in Freemasonry really was focused on southern jurisdiction Scottish Rite, which again has influenced Canadian Scottish Rite. But if you were to spend your time in the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry and then join York Rite or Shrine, Albert Pike is completely irrelevant to your Masonic career, or almost irrelevant to your Masonic career. So he is in many ways been grossly overstated his importance to the average Mason, that's for sure. Well, the degree that matters most is 3rd degree Master Mason, which I am. I did go up to 18th degree Scottish Rite. Yeah, and that's a good, and Rondo's got it absolutely right. You want to reference when you're talking about Albert Pike, just as Rondo is doing, you want to be sure you're referencing Scottish Rite as it relates to Scottish Rite and not Freemasonry as a whole. Because again, for a lot of Freemasons, right, a lot of non-Freemasons, they have this idea that Albert Pike is influential to Freemasonry as a whole, and he was influential to Freemasonry as a whole, but really and primarily his influence was on Scottish Rite and on certain aspects of Scottish Rite, not even the whole thing. And even in Canada, like I said, we are separate from southern jurisdiction. We're separate from northern jurisdiction. But our what was I saying? For us, there is a lot of overlap in with the southern jurisdiction, Freemasonry. I mean, my family, I was introduced to Freemasonry through my family. My dad was a Freemason, as was my grandfathers actually. So, I mean, I was introduced to it through Christmas parties at the Masonic building, going to Masonic, my dad going to Masonic meetings. He was a worshipful master. A lot of times the Masons would come over for dinner or whatever it was. So I just kind of learned about it that way. That's, by the way, not by any means the exclusive way that we as Freemasons are introduced to it. Some people are introduced to it through a friend later on in life. Some people are introduced to it through social media. Maybe some people are introduced to it through this stream. Who knows? But yeah. Not really, Clark's Beach. I mean, in theory, it might always be possible that if you need a job and you happen to be part of a Masonic lodge and there happens to be a brother there who is looking to hire somebody, maybe you'll get a job quicker. Who knows? But it does not guarantee that you will get a job faster than normal people. Again, with the networking aspect of Freemasonry, it's always possible that you will come across and get a job quicker, but it's not it's no guarantee by any means. And gatekeepers, unfortunately, are always going to be it is always going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Gatekeepers are just part of life, unfortunately, and whether you're a Freemason or not, it's not going to help you. It will help you face the challenges of the world by having friends on which you can rely, but it's not going to take away those challenges. So there are Freemasons right now who are struggling to find a job. Unfortunately, there are Freemasons who are doing really well and Freemasons who are doing poorly. There are Freemasons who are financially well off and Freemasons who are financially in trouble, right? I understand a lot of people don't like gatekeepers. Gatekeepers can have their value as well. No, I appreciate Lapis's adding things in. It's wonderful to have Lapis join, and he's welcome to yap as much as he wants. In fact, the more yapping he does, the better, in my opinion. Well, I think, so we mentioned we want to talk about my adventure. What shape is the Earth? The Earth is a sphere. Not a complete sphere, but, oh, that sucks, Lapis. It's spherical. It's not a perfect sphere, because it kind of, if I recall correctly, kind of bulges at the equator. But it is a sphere, Dispassionate Observer. All right, so it is definitely not square. So that would make things more fun. If it was square, it'd be more Masonic, I suppose. Because Freemasons love the square and compass promotions. Minecraft knew the truth. I mean, some Masons do, some Masons don't. I don't, as a general rule. But again, there's about 850,000 Freemasons in the States, give or take. You'd have to ask all 850,000 of them what their view is on conspiracy theories. And then on which conspiracy theories as well would be the question to keep in mind also, right? Because there's so many different conspiracy theories out there, right? But I tend to be very, let's say, hesitant to believe in conspiracy theories. A little bit. I mean, somewhat. I mean, I am Clorox, a third degree Mason. That's the degree that matters the most. Beyond that, I am 18th degree Scottish Rite. Okay, so Luciano Lafort. Again, that is the wonderful networking capability of Freemasonry. The thing to keep in mind, if anybody's reading Luciano's statement, is there is no guarantee, right? Just because you are a Mason, it does not guarantee that you will be able to find a job, but the more people you know and the more friends you have and the more brothers you have, it's certainly, as you know, Luciano says, sometimes it can help, sometimes it can't help. But sometimes it does help, sometimes it doesn't help. But it gives you another potential group of people on whom you can rely and who may be hiring people. How do you know if someone is a Mason? Well, we have what's called modes of recognition, but I'm always very hesitant to, you know, I always tell new Masons, right? You can't always rely on, for example, they may be wearing a ring with a square and compass on it. They may be wearing a shirt that has a square and compass on it. That doesn't mean they're a Mason, right? Many people just like the symbol and will put it on shirts or rings or special items. You know, so you can't rely on that. You cannot rely on necessarily knowing the symbols or knowing what we call modes of recognition. So, for example, well, even if you found a ring, it wouldn't prove that you're a Freemason. I always tell people, don't rely on the rings. You can't rely on knowing the secret, quote unquote secrets, what we call modes of recognition, because oftentimes you can find those on the internet nowadays. You know, the best way you can rely on if somebody says they're a Mason is ask for a dues card. Make sure the dues card is up to date to make sure they're a current Mason and not just a past Mason. And you know, beyond the dues card, then you can ask for, you know, belt and suspenders. Ask for a dues card first, but then after that, ask them for the modes of recognition. And if you're not a Mason yourself, you're not going to know those modes of recognition. So, you know, that's kind of, so if somebody shows up to lodge, says they're a Mason, you know, ask for a dues card and then perform some type of basic testing of the signs. So the dues card confirms your current Mason, and by testing for the signs, you confirm the dues card is legitimate and not a forgery, because that can happen as well. So Clorox bleach, in terms of logos or signs that are banned, I mean, what would be banned in a Masonic lodge is the discussion of religion or politics. So, for example, you could not go to a Masonic lodge and wear a shirt that promoted a particular politician or particular political brand, because that would be bringing politics into lodge, and that would not be okay. So that is banned by Freemasonry, right? The discussion of religion or politics in lodge is not allowed in Freemasonry. Outside of lodge, that's a whole different ball game. But inside lodge, no discussion of religious, no discussion of politics. So you could not have religious or political symbolism within a Masonic lodge. Luciano puts it perfectly right. Brothers will help brothers. And sometimes if brother cannot help a brother find a lodge, or sorry, if a brother cannot help another brother find a job, that brother can perhaps assist with benevolence, or the lodge can assist with benevolence, or with bringing him food, or whatever it is, money to help him get through financial difficulties while he is looking for his job. So that's a great way to put it. Yes, Tony, like and subscribe. Somebody asked me above, dispassionate observer, are you pro-Zionism? And down here, Israel or Palestine. I'm not a big fan of the nature of that question, dispassionate observer, because I feel like you're putting an and, or you're putting a either or where it does not need to be. I mean, you can support both. So I am a member of a lodge in Israel and proud of it, member of Lodge Holy Land, which meets out of or exists out of Tel Aviv, Israel. You know, this is just me speaking personally. This does not represent what Freemasons believe. I believe what's happening, because every Freemason has his own opinion. I believe that what's happening in Palestine is monstrosity. It's monstrous. I think it's horrible. Pick your term. I avoid using legal terms because I'm not an expert in that field, but it is absolutely monstrous and horrible. I believe personally in a two-state solution. Take it for what it's worth. I think that you need an Israel state and a Palestinian state. I think the Palestinians need to be given the freedom to decide not only their own government, but have control over their own lands. And, you should not have, for example, the ability for Israel to cut off electricity into Palestine, things like that. Yeah, I believe in a two-state solution. I guess you'd call me a Zionist because I believe Israel, has the right to, or should exist. I mean, the reason for Israel that should exist because it does exist. So I guess that make me a Zionist. And I'm proud to be a member of a lodge in Israel. Having said that, I do not support the government of Israel right now. Certainly, I don't support the government actions in Israel, government actions in Palestine. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is, what him and his government is doing right now is monstrous. Take that for whatever it's worth. Clorox bleach. Interestingly enough, Clorox bleach, yesterday was the International Day of the Owl. And actually, the the Detroit Masonic Lodge, Detroit Masonic Temple posted something about that. Which I thought was really cool. Let me see if I can find it. Where was it? International Day of Owl. Yes, it was International Owl Awareness Day yesterday. The Owl of Athena, associated with wisdom and design within the main theater chandeliers, can be found within our logo at the top of the square and compasses in Detroit. Our founding year, 1882, is at the bottom. In the center is the Arm of Spirited Detroit statue, a symbol of the city of Detroit. So anyways, the owl on the Detroit Masonic Temple logo is associated with wisdom and design within the main theater chandeliers. So it is associated with wisdom, represented by the Owl of Athena. Yes, and again, you see that in the Detroit Masonic Temple Library and Archive Research Center's logo, which has the square and compasses with the Owl of Athena on top. I mean, I think October 7th was monstrous, yes. I would not go so far as to say, it started with that is a little bit, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, a little bit of a simple term. I think it started, you can argue back and forth about when it started and who started it, and did it start how many years earlier? Did it start with the Balfour Declaration in 17, I think? However it started, what matters is it needs to end, and the current way they're choosing to end it, it looks to me is pretty monstrous. And I'm not comfortable with that as being an ending. I mean, yeah, you can destroy an entire country and end a war that way, or not even a war at this point, but I don't think that's what I'd want. Well, owls, like I said, because of the big eyes. Well, so Freemasonry, sometimes you see the owl connected to Freemasonry as a symbol. Again, the best example is the largest Masonic building in the world, the Detroit Masonic Temple Library and Archive. The Detroit Masonic Temple has an owl included within their symbols. Let me see if I can actually show that to you guys. Give me 1 second. Let's see. There it is. You can see the owl on top there. What's going on, Aiden? I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. they can see in the dark. So I said earlier I would talk about my recent trip to Chicago. Well, I mean, owls are one of those symbols that just kind of exists throughout history. Like I've given this example in the past. We're all kind of dipping from the same well in a lot of ways. And so I think when it comes to this idea of the wells from which we're dipping, like in symbolism, owls have been a very common symbol used throughout history to represent certain things. So it makes sense that in Freemasonry they would kind of be the same thing, right? I don't know what a tawny frog mouth is, but it sounds really cool. I'll have to look up a picture of it one day just to see how they look. Are they native to your area, or do you find them in other areas as well? I don't know about game over. All right, so let's finally get around to something I plan to talk. Not that I haven't been enjoying this conversation, but something that I plan to talk about. By the way, I do have to make a correction. Mr. Keeps on ticking. I think in a previous stream, I had mentioned that the 30th degree is called the Grand Inquisitor degree in Northern jurisdiction, which it is. But here in Canada and Ontario, it is actually called the Kadosh degree. Let me get the exact name of it. Yeah, the Knight of Kadosh. The Knight of Kadosh degree. So it's not called the Grand Inquisitor. That's Northern jurisdiction, but that's not in Ontario and Canada. In Canada, Scottish Rite. Under the Supreme Council, the 30th degree is called the Knight Kadosh degree. I got that mixed up. Because again, I'm not as what's what I'm looking for. I'm not as aware of Scottish Rite stuff beyond the 18th degree, which is as far as I went. So, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, my apologies for that. Like I said, I have to go back on that stream, I think, because I think in the previous stream, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, let me know if you remember, but I think I said here in Ontario it's called the Grand Inquisitor. That's the Northern jurisdiction, but not here in Canada. In Canada, it's called Knight Kadosh. Love Me Hatefully put something down, which I cannot say. You cannot see it. Love Me Hatefully. I hope you will, hit the like and subscribe button. Yeah, early on today's stream, but I forget which stream it was that we talked about it before. So in Northern jurisdiction, which is in, let me just get the states which it's located. 15 states. Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New Hampshire, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Wisconsin, and Vermont. I think it's because Michigan, which is basically right across the river from me, is what I was thinking of at the time. Because I think I know some 32nd degree Masons out of Michigan who took the who took the Northern Jurisdiction Scottish Rite degrees, which is actually an earlier version of Scottish Rite ritual than it is in Southern jurisdiction. So you had the Northern Jurisdiction ritual first, and then when Albert Pike came along, he kind of modified a lot of it. Yes. So out of 50 states, 35 are Southern, 15 are Northern, and then in the Supreme Council of Canada, which is Scottish Rite Freemason, which is Scottish Rite in Canada, which is headquartered in Hamilton. It seems like they are more related to the Southern jurisdiction. Having said that, though, I mean, I feel like there are some Northern influences as well that got into it. So yeah. And then what's interesting is in Louisiana, for example, you have not only do you have Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction, you actually have the first 3 craft degrees can also be given in Scottish Rite, which is really, really cool as well. There are a few jurisdictions which have the first 3 degrees, because typically when you think of the first 3 degrees, you think of emulation ritual, which is basically from Britain. You have Preston and Webb ritual, which is sometimes called York Rite ritual. And then, that tends to be what you think of as being it. But you also have, in Louisiana, for example, you have Scottish Rite ritual for the first 3 degrees. So it's kind of a cool little thing as well. An interesting little connection. Okay, so yeah, I don't know where they are all together. I know Louisiana is the one I know the most of. DC makes sense. I feel like I've heard of that in the past. But yeah, and then in overseas, the Scottish Rite degrees that exist outside of North America, I do not know a ton about them, to be honest. There's a lot more rites in Europe, for example, like Memphis Mizraim, for example, exists outside of, is recognized in, for example, European Scottish Rite. Have you heard the apathy legend of the 3rd degree? I have not. I have not heard the apathy legend of the 3rd degree. It looks like it's a song. Oh, okay, apathy. So, apathy's the rapper, right? Or the artist. From looks like 2018. I'll check it out. It's on YouTube. That's really, really cool. It is vast. I mean, it's vast and it's complicated. So is it in Asia, and especially when you get to like Eastern Europe, you have a lot of different bodies and rites and what is or is not clandestine. It gets quite complicated quite quickly over there, especially because Freemasonry in continental Europe is super. What's the word I'm looking for? Is super. I can't think of the word now. Like, it's old but new. It has a really interesting history, right? Because a lot of times it was formed in, let's say, the 17th century, 17th, 18th century. Then it existed for, 100 years or so, 100 and something years. And then when the Soviet Union came onto the scene, it went underground or was banned altogether. And then it came back in like the 1990s. So it feels like it's both really old and really new, which is fascinating. That kind of, it's almost as though it went like a coma for 100 years. If it was a person, it's like, you know, it was, it was young, it was 20 years old, went to a coma, came out of the coma at like 70 years old. And so it feels kind of like it's experiencing the world for the first time, but also is very old, if that makes any sense as a metaphor. I mean, Freemasonry in general can be overwhelming. There's so many different rites and orders and all the rest of it. It can be very, very complicated. Um, and overwhelming sometimes, which is why, especially when you're just joining and you're brand new, it's going back to that recommendation of just take your time and enjoy it, and try not to, um, take your time, enjoy it. Don't worry about knowing everything or learning everything, because you're going to drive yourself insane. Just focus on getting the most that you can out of your Masonic experience, more so than anything else. And not spending time focusing on, kind of not spending time focusing as much on trying to know all the ins and outs. Yes, the song. I just found it on YouTube. Apathy. I'll check it out. Legend of the Third Degree. It's nice to see, in my opinion, when you see Masonic rituals like that. I think that stuff is awesome. Yes, well, I hope you enjoy the advice. Um, Again, as somebody who, as somebody who's about to be joining, I 100% hope that you enjoy the advice. Maybe you get a chance to, like I said, and just enjoy the process. Anyone under 40 in my lodge? Not as many as I'd like, Mr. Keeps on Tickin'. Not as much as I would like by any means, but we're working on it. I mean, even me, I was going to say I'm under 40, but thank you for reminding me. I'm actually 41. So, way to remind me of how old I am. I was trying to forget. Thank you very much. But we're working on it. I mean, that's one thing that Freemasonry needs, right? We need younger members. We need enough younger members, um, in order to keep the lodges going. That's true for every organization. Nobody under 80. Sorry to hear that, Spirit. I know, for example, I was told, I've not confirmed this, but it sounds correct to me, that the average age of Freemasonry um, in Texas is 67. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but I hope that's not the case, because, again, we need the younger members. But Spirit, you're at least under 80, right? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to assume that you are under 80 yourself. Ah, so Courtney's an old man. Look at that. Over 45 years of age. An old, old man. The food was wonderful. Oh, how old is Mr. Keeps on Ticking then? Welcome, everybody. Oh, so you're younger than all of us, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. So you're making me feel very old now. That's fine. Douglas Marks is very correct. You have to watch out for clandestine lodges, especially because they are growing so much more out there. And I'm not one of those people who is, I feel old too, and I'm older than you. So if you feel old, what does that do to me? Though if you do join Freemasonry and it makes you feel any better, you'll bring the average age of the lodge down. So there's that. You know, that could be help you out. You'll be fine, Courtney. We're all getting older. But in terms of great food, so I suppose I'm just gonna do one thing quickly, and then I'm gonna start talking about my trip to Chicago, and that will include the food because the food is wonderful. I mean, there. So Lapis is getting older too. We're all getting older. Time does fly when you're having fun, especially when I get to be on YouTube. Okay, so let's start talking. If you think we get 100 summer, winter, falls, and springs, if you live to 100, that's a really good way to put it. Okay, so, all right. Let's see. So as I was saying, oh, and Douglas is 34 years old. So we are all getting older. And by the way, before I start talking my trip to Chicago, I'm going to mention one more time. Join of the people who voted, 21 votes, 62% follow me on Instagram, 38% do not. So, follow me on Instagram. Square and Compass Promotions, square_and_compass_ promotions. So as I have been saying, I was lucky enough to visit and travel to Chicago this weekend. I left on Friday, August oops, let me go up here, sorry. I left on Friday, August 1st. I took the all-night bus, so I arrived in Chicago on Saturday, August the 2nd, first thing in the morning. 5 a.m., in fact. And as a Freemason, I am always arguing and still argue that one of the most important things we can do is travel. And as much as possible, like the first thing, the most important thing you can do for your Masonic lodge and for your Masonic, the most important thing you can do for Freemasonry is you need to support your Masonic lodge, your mother lodge, by showing up as regularly as you possibly can, by attending all the meetings, mentoring nights, special events. Be there to support your Masonic lodge. The second thing, though, that you can do is, in terms of growing your Masonic career, is visit, travel. Make sure, well, I mean, farting actually is important. Farting is one way you can tell that you're healthy, but if you're farting too much, it might be dangerous. If you are concerned about your farting, go to the doctor. Is to visit as many different Masonic lodges and events as you can. Get on a bus, get on a train, get in your car, drive, visit your Masonic lodges as often as you can. The doctor will tell you, absolutely. Right, so anyways, I arrived in Chicago at 5 o'clock. The first thing I did after checking out the Loop and going to the Cloud Gate or the Bean in Chicago is I worked out at Equinox Gym in the Chicago Loop. Thank you, Equinox Gym, for the free day pass. I've always argued Freemasons have a responsibility to care for our health and well-being, and I still believe that to be the case. So we should absolutely care for our health and our well-being, and a big part of that is taking part in our, going to the gym, working out. Again, talk to your doctor, make sure your doctor's cool with it. But I got the chance to visit Equinox Gym. Thank you, Equinox Gym, for the free day pass. And I got the chance to work out. Not only get a chance to work out, but I got the chance to work out while watching the Chicago L train, the Chicago commuter train, go by the windows. That was a really cool kind of moment of you feel like a real person from Chicago when you're working out and you see the L train passing you by, right? And you feel like a true Mason. No, Ryan, I 100% agree with the idea of idea of open houses and bringing the public in. I wish we did more of that. I worked really hard to do that. Hello, Todd. Thank you for being here. So after the workout, I then had to decide which Masonic events I was going to attend. There were 4 happening the second day of August, and despite my going with no sleep, I decided to attend as many of them as I possibly could. The first one I attended was the Loyal Lodge Family and Friend Picnic located in Morton Grove. I took the commuter system. I took the public transit. I took basically the L system, the subway system, from Chicago to Morton Grove and went to Loyal Lodge and their Loyal Lodge's Masonic picnic. It was wonderful. I'd visited Loyal Lodge in the past, which meets out of Skokie, but this was the first time I got to hang out with them for a social event. The food was delicious. I got to eat hot dogs, chicken, potato salad, macaroni salad. They also had ice cream bars or corn on the cob as well. They also had ice cream bars, and they rented out a snow cone truck. And they had somebody there making snow cones for everybody, which again was completely for free. The entire barbecue was free. The thing I loved most about it, or there are a few things I loved most about it, but one of the bigger things was the fact that it was so well attended by non-Masons. That includes young kids who were there as like friends or, there as family members of Masons. But also Masons were bringing their friends, Masons were bringing their wives, Masons were bringing, their family members. So you probably had, honestly, an equal number, 50% Mason, 50% non-Masons, which was awesome to see. I thought it was really, really cool to see so many non-Masons there. And again, it's a chance to show off the welcoming nature of Freemasonry, the welcoming vibes of Freemasonry. I thought that was really, really cool. And something I loved checking out. And so, yeah, so you had, they also had draws every hour where you won different prizes. I'd say probably 30 to 40 people were there, including both adults and kids. And again, this just goes to show, look, if you are a Masonic Lodge and you are, quote unquote, going dark, that does not stop you from taking part in barbecues, events, or if you're a part of a Masonic Lodge and your lodge is going dark, you can visit other lodges. You can visit other events. You can take the time, so long as it's recognized, not clandestine, you can, take advantage of these opportunities, and you should. It will grow your Masonic experience greatly. So I did that first, then still taking the Chicago transit system, I jumped on a bus and went to Jefferson Park. Did a quick stop off at Jefferson Park Masonic Temple, got to see the facade again, see if anybody was there, and then went to Jeff Fest, which was a public, festival and picnic in Jefferson Memorial Park, which is a suburb. Jefferson Park is a suburb of Chicago. A Masonic Lodge had stopped by there to check out the event and hang out with everybody. That was really cool. And again, it's Freemasons taking part in a community event. So the first one, it's Freemasons holding an event for friends and family. So that's a Masonic event, which is welcoming of friends and family. Then you have Freemasons going to an event to support a community, support the community, right? Which they did. They're saying, look, we're part of Jefferson Park. We're part of this suburb. We want to support Jefferson Park. We want to support these events by going to Jefferson Park Masonic Temple, or by going to the Jeff Fest. So I got to check out that. And then one more time, I got the chance to visit. I jumped back on the train and got the chance to head down and visit the Joliet Slammers baseball field, where a Masonic Lodge was holding a Masonic Recognition Night, where a bunch of Masons bought tickets and again supported the local economy. Got to watch some awesome Joliet Slammers baseball. Got to meet the junior Grand Warden of Illinois. He was present. The worshipful master of the lodge was present. Got to eat some great food. So it was a blast as well. So that was a lot of fun. So 3 really awesome Masonic events. I did not get the chance, sadly, to attend the brisket dinner, which was in Oak Park, if I recall it correctly. Fortunately, due to timing, I just did not have the time to make it, but I still would love to visit that Masonic Lodge. That is 100% on my list of places to visit. Then took, once again, transit. And I keep on emphasizing this because as Freemasons, I think if we're traveling to a place, it behooves us to try to become part of that place in as many different ways as possible. And that includes visiting, taking the transit, going to local restaurants, buying from local stores, right? I think we have a duty and a responsibility as Freemasons, if we are traveling, to take the time to be part of the community in which we're traveling. And again, that can include taking the transit, going to local restaurants, buying local products, maybe buying local products as gifts to bring back to your Masonic Lodge, right? All of these things are things that we can, as Freemasons, do, and I think and we should do. So I do want to take a moment to thank, let me just get the names of the lodges so I'm not getting them incorrect. Just need to find the names. Here they are. Thank you, Loyal Lodge number 1007, for letting me take part in the annual family picnic. Thank you, Kelvin Park Willing Lodge number 1075, for letting me know about Jefferson Park Festival. Thank you, Madison Lodge number 0175 out of Joliet, for letting me know about the baseball game and for allowing me to take part in the baseball game and the Madison Lodge Slammers baseball night. And I'm very sorry, Oak Lawn Lodge number 1166. I wish I could have had the chance to attend your smoked brisket and ribs dinner. However, I could not. But it's on my list. So anyways, thank you to those lodges. Thank you to Equinox in the Loop Gym for give me a free day pass so I could take part and work out in your gym and fulfill my Masonic responsibility of staying in shape. Thank you also to the Chicago Public Transit. I don't know what people in Chicago think of it, but me, as somebody who is outside of it, who does not live in Chicago but visits all the time, thank you to Metra, to the CTA, for letting me get all around the city and outside of the city, all around the area, and take part in these events and do so cost effectively. I could not have afforded to go to all those events if I had to pay for taxis to go everywhere. It would have been crazy. Courtney, it was delicious. The food was amazing. We've done tours in the past. I think we should charge fees for tours. I agree, it totally rocks. Dispassionate Observer asked, who is Lucifer? Daryl and Daryl Loves. I do not message. I try not to message anyone unless they message me first. And it is about Freemasonry. So, no. And if you are a minor and you're on the stream, thank you for being here, but make sure you have your parents' permission before you are, on any stream. Dispassion Lucifer. I'm going to talk Dispassion Lucifer about day number 2. And then from there, I'll answer your question as far as I understand it. Day number 2. So I took my public transportation back to Glenview, Illinois, where I stay. That's always where I stay when I'm in that area. I stay in the Motel 6. I will take no knocking of the Motel 6s, at least the one in Glenview, Northern Chicago. Northern Chicago is incredible. It's on Milwaukee Road. It's super cost effective, again, because you need to pay attention to cost. And it's always great. One of the reasons it's great is because the very next morning, at 8:30, I crossed the street, and Daryl and Daryl Loves, I'm gonna have to put you in timeout. To Ellie's Pancake House, where I had breakfast with my good friend and Masonic brother, Gerald Carlton. I've actually had Gerald Carlton on the podcast previously. He is a Mason out of Chicago and also a Scottish Rite Mason, and incredibly active in Morton Grove and Glenview United Lodges. He's one of the first Masons I met, and whenever I travel to Glenview, I always have breakfast with him. We go back and forth on who pays for breakfast. And it's a great chance to chat. And I mean, it's one of those things where you talk about what Freemasonry is. Freemasonry is not simply lodge meetings. It's not simply social events that involve 20 or 30 people. It's grabbing breakfast with a brother and chatting about how their life is going, how their day is going, what's happening. And sometimes that can include Freemasonry. Sometimes that includes just their life. I mean, a really good example and a really good way to think of it is I am a, professional wrestler or training. One thing they talk about is, I've heard people talk about is one of the most important parts of Freemasonry, one of the most important parts of professional wrestling was those times when you traveled in the car from town to town and you chatted about and you talked about life and your matches and how things were going for you and what was happening in your life. And so, in the same way with Freemasonry, one of the most important parts of Freemasonry is what happens between lodge meetings, at breakfasts, and quiet times between your Masonic brothers. So anyways, wake up the next morning, I grabbed breakfast at Ellie's Pancake House. In my opinion, the best breakfast in the Chicagoland area is Ellie's Pancake House in Glenview. From there, I went downtown Glenview, took part in Core Power Yoga's free community class. So thank you to Core Power Yoga. Again, as a Freemason, I think it behooves us to be healthy. Part of being healthy is exercise. That includes yoga. And even better, it was a free community class. So how wonderful is that to get the chance to take part in a free community class? So thank you, Core Power Yoga. Goodbye, Ilker. Thank you for being here as always. From there, hung out and did some work in the Glenview Public Library. Then went to check out the Glenview Masonic Temple. And more specifically, went to check out some work that I was told they were doing on their parking lot. Glenview Masonic Temple is my favorite, one of my favorite Masonic temples. It's a place I absolutely love and adore. Finally, returned for night 2 at Motel 6, stopped off at Two Les Jeux for some food. I also went that day to Grandpa's place for some food. And again, it's one of those things where as a Freemason, I'm traveling to my Masonic brothers, but I'm also traveling to their communities. And because I'm traveling to their communities, I have a responsibility to try and support the communities in which they're located, economically speaking, right? Try to support their economies. And that includes restaurants, things of that nature. Now, again, you have to be careful and save your money as well. Use public transit, use maybe the cheaper motels that still provide good service. But it's about that balance of finding support. So in terms of what I ate on my trip, I ate I ate at all my favorite places, which is Ellie's Pancake House, Grandpa's Place, Two Les Jeux. Those are all located in Glenview, Illinois. And then I ate some delicious barbecue with Loyal Lodge. And then the next morning got up and took the bus back and arrived back here Monday afternoon. So that was pretty wonderful also. Yeah, and it was an incredible trip. I think it just reminds us, look, we as Freemasons have the opportunity to travel and know that when we are traveling, we will meet with Masonic brothers around the world. We have them there to support us, to help us, and we also have a responsibility, therefore, to help and support them. right? Sometimes travel can mean traveling an hour away within your country to another Masonic event. Sometimes travel can mean traveling 14-hour flight around the world to visit a Masonic lodge. Either way, you know you will have the chance to meet some amazing brothers and some incredible brothers. So take advantage of those opportunities. I will be back in a moment. I just need to go and grab a quick snack because I'm getting kind of hungry. But I'll be back, and then if you're still there, wherever you were, dispassionate observer, I think it was. I will answer your question based on my knowledge. Dad, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. And we do have a beautiful ballroom. You're absolutely correct. Give me 1 second. Okay, I got my cookie. Now I'm back. It's okay relating. Yeah, I'm in a wheelchair, but I like being in a wheelchair. My wheelchair goes fast. So that makes it pretty awesome. So, give me 1 more second. There we go. So, dispassionate observer asked above, who is Lucifer? My assumption is he's asking that because he's heard of or read Albert Pike. Look, I'm speaking exclusively for myself in regards to this. I am not a biblical scholar, nor am I a scholar on the Scottish Rite side of things or Albert Pike. So when I think of Lucifer, I just think of Satan. I assume it's I treat it as the same thing. Oreos are delicious, Courtney. There are some people who are in the mystical kind of mysticism. Albert Pike was one of them. I think Sherlock Holmes or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was another, who was a Freemason, who they define them differently. They define Lucifer as the light bringer, almost like a Prometheus type of figure, who brought knowledge to humanity in the same way Prometheus brought fire to humanity. And he's a kind of a separate entity from Satan, the fallen angel, right? Lucifer was like the serpent in the garden who brought knowledge to humanity, as opposed to Satan, who was kind of the fallen angel and responsible for so much of kind of the evil or the enemy, from a mystical perspective. But for me personally, and again, every Freemason will have their own view on this, because Freemasonry is not a religion, and there are many different Freemasons who have many different views on quote-unquote Lucifer. To my knowledge, most would have my view, which is it's just Satan. I understand, again, like from a Albert Pike perspective, he was more in the mystical side of it, but he is the exception, he's not the rule. If that makes any sense. I have no idea what GTA 6 is. I can between Grand Theft Auto. Dom, welcome Dom. Thank you for being here. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. Yes, Morals and Dogma. One of my favorite expressions is Freemasons know Freemasonry by being Freemasons. Non-Masons know Freemasonry from Morals and Dogma. That book is way, way overrated in terms of its impact on Freemasonry. Certainly within the first 2 degrees and within York Rite and with the northern jurisdiction of Scottish Rite as well. So I hope that my explanation of my trip, why I think travel is important, all that good jazz, I hope that helped everybody and hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you liked my answer to the question, Dispassion Observer, if you're still there. Well, Albert Pike was incorrect about that, right? It was not a religion. And I mean, you can take, but here's also what I'd say, Dom Cossi, and I've talked about this before. Um, I would add a couple of things, and Brother Fluff has talked about this actually. He's a Mason who does a lot of TikTok stuff. Um, there's a couple different ways to kind of define religion or religious. One thing I would keep in mind is, you can. So, for example, I could say, I attend my Masonic lodge religiously, which means it's something I do with regularity and with purpose. I've heard people say, because I'm spend a lot of time on horror movie channels, because I love scary movies, that Freddy Krueger is my religion, or horror movies are my religion. They don't mean it literally, right? To me, a literal religion is one in which there is the promise of salvation or the threat of damnation, neither of which we have. Right? Being a Freemason does not does not promise you any type of salvation, nor does it deny you. If you're a bad Freemason, it's not like you're going to hell because you're a bad Freemason. That's not how it works. Freemasonry does not promise salvation, nor does it deny. It does not promise salvation, nor does it promise damnation, which is one of the key elements of being a religion. The other thing is Freemasonry does not have a single non-democratically elected level of authority. So, for example, what makes a church, what makes a religion, what can make a cult, is you have a singular authority, a priest, a imam, a father, a rabbi, whatever it might be, and everybody sits in their building, they look towards him, and he explains and interprets the Bible, the Quran, whatever the religious dogmas are, right? And you don't get to vote on any of that stuff, like, whatever it might be. In Freemasonry, we are not, first of all, we all don't face the same direction. We face different directions. We face inward to the lodge, not towards one person, because in Freemasonry, there's not one person who gets to determine the beliefs of everybody. It's democratic. We all get a vote, and based on that vote, we all decide, right? Like, if the priest says, like, we're having whatever we're having, this is the way we're interpreting this, no one gets a say. Freemasonry doesn't have that. So that's also why it's not a religion in the classic sense. No threat, no promise of salvation, no threat of damnation, no singular entity that sets the rules on which everybody must follow. The other reason that it's not a religion is because, right, you are not able to discuss religion in lodge. In fact, it welcomes men of all different faiths: Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Wiccan, and so they will have their own views on what the afterlife is, what religion is, what spirituality is, etc., etc. Well, so the reason we use the term, you could use the term the great architect. I use the term supreme being in general conversation, but it means the same thing, is because it's an inclusive, it's an enlightenment term, especially supreme being, right? So, for example, if I were to say, I believe in God, right, here in North America, especially in my area, almost everybody is going to hear that and reflexively assume some type of Christian God, right? If I was in Morocco and I said that, they would assume some type of like Muslim version of the faith. If I was in Israel, Jewish. If I lived in a place where maybe, like, indigenous or First Nations groups, they might have a view of like spirit of Mother Earth type of thing, or indigenous. So it's not a God, Dom. It is the God as understood by each individual member, which will be different. So, for example, Dom, when my Muslim brother says the great architect, he is referring to he's referring to God as understood in the Muslim context. When my Christian brother says the great architect, he is referring to God within his Christian context. So it's not a God, rather, it is a term for God that is meant to be inclusive of every different belief that may be represented in lodge. But that doesn't make it a religion. Because, for example, if I were to say I'm going to pray to the great architect, right? So if I'm in a church, if I'm in a Catholic church, and they say they're going to have a prayer, everybody in that church is thinking of the same God and the same religious understanding of what that God is. In a Masonic context, everybody will have a very different idea of what the great architect is, as they should, right? They all have a different view. So, Dom, no atheists. I mean, in the most technical sense, that's true. But practically speaking, in my experience, so I've known Masons who are Masons, and who say that their supreme being is the mathematical equations which govern the universe. Basically, the Einsteinian version of God, right? So you can take that however it is you want to. I find the term supreme being or great architect is interpreted in such a liberal way that, atheists, for practical purposes, join. But again, so that's why I would not call it a religion. And I also think Albert Pike, again, when he said religion, I think it really was more that we're misinterpreting what he meant. I think he meant religion more so in the idea of the way, again, a friend of mine who loves horror movies described, he said, Freddy Krueger is my religion. He didn't mean religion literally in the way that you would think of a church, Catholic church or otherwise. He meant it's something he regularly watches, knows about, and thinks about. And so again, you could argue Freemasonry is my religion in the same way horror movies is my religion. It's something I do religiously. I make sure to attend meetings. I take part in it regularly. But it's not a religion in the sense of the way a church is a religion, Catholic church or otherwise. And also, he also meant religion in that it's a religion of, it is because you have in a Masonic lodge, Wiccan people, Wiccan, indigenous people, Muslim, Jewish, First Nations, Catholic, other Christian denominations, Hindu, Sikh, all able to be part of Freemasonry and all be able to be part of the lodge. In that sense, you could argue it's kind of a universal religion in that it welcomes men of all religions. But that would be the same as like going to court. You have people swearing on a Bible to tell the truth, swearing on a Quran, swearing on an eagle feather, affirming. So in the same way, is court a universal religion? I just think it was very clunky language by Albert Pike, which he was actually stealing from some of the original constitutions of Freemasonry. But it was just clunky language that doesn't adequately express what he meant, which is, it is not a religion in the sense of what you would think of a religion, Catholic. It's something that can be done religiously by its members, if that makes any sense. My thoughts on Albert Mackey, I assume you refer. Same thing. He got some stuff right, some stuff wrong. A lot of times he used very clunky language. So, Dom, to my understanding, and I'm not a Catholic expert, it's not that Catholics, and we have Mr. Keeps on Ticking here, who I'd love to talk to you more about South Africa, but you also talked about this in the past. To my knowledge, um, Catholics do not forbid lodge membership. Rather, if you are a Catholic, you are not able to take communion in lodge. Or sorry, you're not able to take communion in the Catholic Church. Sorry, getting my words mixed up. So you can join a Masonic lodge if you're a Catholic, but you are not able to take communion in the church if you are Catholic and you join. Having said that, I have known many Catholic Freemasons. I've known some Catholic Freemasons who actually joined Scottish Rite, more so maybe who joined York Rite, and who see no kind of conflict between their Catholic faith and their being a Freemason. It seems to me that the reason for the Catholic forbidding those who are Freemason from taking communion, it really was cemented by Pope Leo the 13th. He wrote this work called Humanum Genus in 1864, I think is the date. And I've read it. I think he got a lot of stuff wrong, but it seems like what he wrote there kind of became the foundation through which Catholics deny Freemasons from taking communion. But having said that, I know many Catholics who are Freemasons. I don't know if they just don't tell their Catholic Church that they're Freemasons and still take communion, or if they just don't go to Catholic Church. But my hope is Pope Leo the 14th, because he is a more modern pope. He was born in 1955. He grew up in a place where Freemasonry was ubiquitous. May be willing to reconsider the Catholic Church's views on it. I don't know. I know that some Masons have written letters to the Catholic Church and to the Pope asking for him to reconsider. So we shall see. I mean, I do believe popes have changed dogma in the past. Again, I'm not an expert by any means on Catholic dogma, but I do believe it is possible for the Pope to change Catholic dogma. I don't know what the full process is. Let me know, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, if I'm correct or incorrect on that. And please take a moment, if you are just joining us, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, answer my poll question, and if your answer is no, what are you doing? For heaven's sakes, follow me on Instagram. Also follow me on my other channels. Follow me on Patreon and all that good jazz. And please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. I hope, Dom, I managed to answer your questions. Well, yeah, so you're a local Spurs fan. I don't think that, again, right, Freemasonry is not a religion. Some people consider it to be religion, but it is not, based on everything I've seen and what not just what I've been told, but everything I've seen. Again, it's not a religion unless you define it in that very broad sense, in which case anything can be religion if you care about it enough. Because again, for me personally, you could argue horror movies are my religion. I've watched them a million times. I can quote them verbatim. I know all about them. I watch them religiously, one could say. It won't happen because if he did all the Latin Rite, trads, and borderline, I have no idea what that word means, Sedevacanists will have a field day. Okay, so yeah, I don't know enough about that. I think you're probably right, but I guess I'll keep my hope up. Who knows? Anything's possible. There's probably been plenty of things in the past that we thought would never happen and then have happened. So I don't know. I guess who knows? Well, but I think anything can become a religion in the broadest sense of the word as being something important to oneself and something that's done regularity. But I don't think anything can become a religion in the literal definition of religion. I think for the literal definition of religion, what you need is a promise of salvation, a threat of damnation, a singular authority which interprets kind of doctrines and scripture to a congregation, and you need a congregation that is not considered equal with the leadership, but rather is in some way, shape, or form subservient to it, right? So at the end of the day, right, the Catholic, which I love religions. I think religions is a good thing for society. I wish we were more religious in some ways. I'm not personally, but the Catholic parishioners are not equal to the Catholic Church itself. Okay. Do you really think that would happen, Mr. Keeps on Ticking? I'm genuinely curious because I don't know enough about Catholic fundamentalists, but do you think that there would be a significant, do you think there'd be a significant potential for people to leave? I'd be really curious to know. And I'm also curious, what number do you think it would be? Like, do you think it'd be, I'm really curious, what do you think the numbers would be? But you think it would be a real, like a real risk? Again, it's something I'd love to learn more about because the idea of like in the Catholic faith. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. Do you find there's a lot of people have more negative views of Freemasonry, like regularly, or do most not think about it one way or the other? Obviously, like I said, there are many Catholics I know of who are Freemasons, but I don't think they represent maybe the whole of the Catholic Church. Love Me Hatefully. Have you heard of? I have not heard of the imaginary theory. What is the imaginary theory, Mr. Keeps on Taking? So that's what I figured. Yeah, that makes sense, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. That's true for kind of most things in life, to be honest. Most average people do not know what Freemasonry is. I'm hoping we can change that. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that through this stream I can help change that. Because I love Freemasonry. Well, Love Me Hatefully, what I'd like to imagine is you hitting the like and subscribe button. And, same thing, I think we talked about this before, Mr. Keeps on Ticking, but another thing I'd love to see is people know more about Knights of Columbus. And I'd love to see us know more about them. And again, I have nothing but respect for that organization. I think civic groups in general, we need more of them. Religious or otherwise, like non-religious, like Freemasonry. Actually, that's a good question for me. And again, I hope you don't mind me asking you this, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. Would you consider the Knights of Columbus to be a religion? And actually, DJ Needle, Dewan, if you're still there, let me know. Jump in the chat, say hello quickly. I have a question for you, which I may try to answer. Okay, yeah, so it's the same way I say, of course not, to when people say Freemasonry is a religion, right? Right? I would say, of course not, in the same way. Things change. I mean, even in Freemasonry, one of the things I always hear is people say Freemasonry never changes. It doesn't change. It changes. Everything changes, for better or worse. I think we just kind of have to be willing to accept it. No worries. I get it. I would time him out too, probably. Oh, the idea of it being a movie, um, that is something that we're seeing pop up in different groups, including, unfortunately, I've never seen it myself, thank heavens, but I'm told some Masonic areas are, especially in the rites, are showing movies now for the initiations. I think that's unfortunate too. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't describe my initiation as hardcore, but it's definitely something that stuck with me. If it was a movie, it wouldn't stick with me in the same way, right? So you kind of take that for whatever it's worth. I've never seen anybody cry during a Masonic initiation, but certainly I've seen it be very moving for people. I've seen people cry after the initiation when, especially if they have family there, if their dad is there. Sometimes they can get emotional, or if they've waited for a while. But, that sounds awesome. And things cycle, right? Things cycle. So hopefully, maybe over time, they'll go back to the more quote unquote hardcore version. I believe you when you say it. Like I said, I don't know if I would describe Freemasonry initiations as hardcore. I would describe them as just, something very meaningful. But so long as it's meaningful to you, that's a good thing. I mean, listen to what? Well, I mean, you kind of keep it up to you as well if you're comfortable. Whether they're saying it's a secret or not, I think you should also decide for yourself. But sure, if you want to do a podcast with me, I'd love to. Like I said, I want to learn more about Knights of Columbus because it's not something I know a ton about by any means, and it's something I'd like to learn more about as I go. I will be back, by the way, at 1 a.m. this morning, or I guess tomorrow morning, because you people are like me, you're a bunch of night owls. So, um, which is awesome, by the way. It's great to have night owls like me. Freemasonry, after dark. So, but what do I have coming up? I want to mention that as well. What I have coming up for my stream this month. I got a few special events that I'm looking forward to quite a bit, a few special moments. Um, Let me just see if I can't find my calendar. So, August 16th from 12 to 2, I'm doing a live stream at the Windsor Hip Hop Festival. We as Freemasons should care about supporting our community, including supporting our community artists. So I'll be doing a live stream at the Windsor Hip Hop Festival, checking out some artists, hanging out, having fun. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to be there for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. Whenever I give times, it's 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So that is August 16th. August 20th, 2025, we're going to be doing an Instagram live from 12 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern, give or take. So no, actually, excuse me, not quite. We'll be doing Instagram live from 3 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Eastern. So that's why I've been asking people about Instagram, because we're doing my Instagram live stream at that time. And then you can follow me there. And then, interesting you bring that up, Lapis, on Thursday, August 21st, starting probably at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing another 24-hour live stream. And that live stream will include going through all of my Masonic pins, regalia, special items, coins. I'll probably be doing a combination stream on my laptop and on my cell phone, but that is going to be a blast. So that is 24-hour live stream on the 21st. So once again, the 16th, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern, live streaming from the Windsor Hip Hop Festival. Wednesday, the 20th, Instagram Live, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. And then 21st, 24-hour live stream, which will include going through all of my Masonic regalia and items. You'll have to join. You'll have to join on the 21st to find out. So that is going to be the 21st. Well, I mean, Courtney, you did suggest it before, and it was a really good idea. I was just trying to find the right time to do it. And I think that works well, because I want to give myself enough time to do everything, to talk about as much as I can. So I agree. I think it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. Probably the second. Well, actually, no, the first. I'm going to go with the first degree. The first degree tracing board. That makes sense. I mean, that they're really, really cool. Like, they are awesome to see. They're beautiful. So that does make a lot of sense to me. I could see that. All right, so I did want to mention a couple other things quickly. We will be, like I said, I will be back tonight at 1 a.m. I'm going to talk more about this stuff at 1 a.m., but I did want to mention a couple things quickly. I've been talking for a while about tariffs, United States, Donald Trump and tariffs, not to say whether I'm support or don't support, rather to just say that I think we as Freemasons need to pay attention to these economic trends, because it will affect our Masonic lodges and our ability, and it will affect Freemasonry, right? And so I recently saw an article which I posted. It's local to Windsor. Is from CTV. Windsor charities struggling amid downturn in donations due to tariff uncertainty. Now, Freemasonry is not a charity, by the way, but There are many charitable organizations connected to and with Freemasonry, including the Learning Centers, Scottish Rite Learning Centers.
I'm Michael Lambert.
Sorry about that. Many Freemasons will donate to their lodges to hold special events. There's benevolence funds to help out brothers who are in need. There is Masonic Charitable Foundation out of England. So there are many different Masonic charitable organizations that exist. And the Grand Master every year of Freemasonry in different jurisdictions will usually have a charity that he wants to support. So I remember a couple of years ago, it was research for prostate cancer. And he asked lodges and individual Masons if they could to donate and support those charities, right? And so if you look at this story, a number of Windsor Essex charities dedicated to supporting vulnerable individuals across the region are raising concerns about the growing impact of the ongoing trade war with the U.S. A joint news release from the Downtown Mission of Windsor, Downtown Windsor Community Collaborative, Feeding Windsor Essex, Safe Families of Windsor, Windsor Life Center, Windsor Life Outreach, and Matthew House Refugee Welcome Center said the escalation of tariffs is affecting their ability to serve those most in need. The organization said that the economic pressures are leading to a sharp decline in local charitable giving, with many longtime donors now forced to choose between making a donation and putting food on their own table. And if that is the case, will we then reach a point where they are forced to choose between making a donation, between paying Masonic dues and putting food on their own table, or going to a Masonic event and putting food on their own table? Right? Matthew House provides temporary home and settlement supports for refugee claimants. Resource Development Coordinator Heidi Hotz said the downturn in donations led them to having to lay off some staff. We have to do more with less, like anybody else. A lot of people that support us and other charitable groups who've also noticed that their charity donations are down. It's tough for everyone. We realize that, but this is where we have to really dig deep, see how we can help one another, and somehow or another, the math all works out with what we do. Right? Matthew House also needs urgent need of hygiene supplies. So again, if you have tariff uncertainty that's affecting the economics, you're going to see a downturn in charitable giving. You're also going to see a downturn in just spending money in general that's not of necessities. So that could include Masonic dues and paying for those, right? That could include going to Masonic events. That might also mean, on the other side of it, Freemasons may need more charitable help from their lodges in terms of benevolence if they are struggling with uncertainty. And then you look at Masonic charities, like the Grand Master recommends supporting prostate cancer research. Can we support that while we are dealing with tariff uncertainty, right? How is the Masonic Charitable Foundation in England dealing with, because I think there's tariff issues over there as well, right? And so the reason I'm always saying we as Freemasons need to pay attention to the economic news of the day is because that economic news of the day affects our membership and affects the potential growth or the potential struggle of our Masonic lodges, both in terms of maybe our Masonic lodges needing to give away more in terms of benevolence, as well as Freemasons themselves having less to give to the lodge, not being able to pay their dues, not being able to go to Masonic events, not being able to travel to Masonic events, and maybe even not having the time to dedicate to Freemasonry because so much of their time is being spent working, because with tariffs they need to spend more and more time working, right? All of that stuff is very, very possible, and that's why we as Freemasons need to care about that stuff. And so that's why I'm going to talk more about this tonight at 1 a.m., but that's one of those things why we really need to think about those things and keep those things in mind. And that's right as well. Courtney, as Courtney brings out, would also the thing to think about is the Masonic Lodge expenses will go up too. Food costs more, dinners may cost more. Certainly, materials that you need for your building may cost more. I mean, all of that stuff, it matters. It affects the ability of our lodges to adequately function, for better or for worse, right? Right, in that case, just for worse. So that is why I want to keep talking about these tariff issues, and especially here in Canada, how they may affect us. And then I do want to give a quick shout out and a congratulations to the James Webb Space Telescope. We as Freemasons, especially emulation ritual, especially second degree, are taught to care about the liberal arts and sciences. We're taught to care specifically and especially about geometry, and recognize that learning more about geometry will help us grow within Freemasonry, which is 100% the case in my experience. That, the other really fascinating thing is you often have seen geometry and geometric principles as a way to better understand the universe as a whole. And you see it with the James Webb Telescope. I've interviewed people from the James Webb Telescope here in the past. Let me see if I can find the article now. James Webb Space Telescope revisits a classic Hubble image of over 2,500 galaxies. The James Webb Telescope has returned to the scene of one of Hubble Space Telescope's most iconic images, the ultra-deep field, to capture galaxies through cosmic history. The new image was taken as part of the James Webb Space Telescope's Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey, which is intent on further probing infrared light patches of sky originally imaged by Hubble. I am 41 years old. I was born without my legs. I used to use artificial limbs. I started using a wheelchair when I went to high school. Right, so congratulations to James Webb Space Telescope on what is an incredible image, showing how far technology has advanced since Hubble, by the way. I agree. I think it looks awesome. I did a great, if you go to my Medium page, I did a great story about the telescope. I actually got some pins of the telescope. It's really, really cool. But we're going to give this exactly, I think we'll give this stream another 5 minutes. I will be back streaming tonight, tomorrow morning, I guess, 1 a.m. We're talking more about Freemasonry. Then I'm going to talk more about these stories about the tariffs, reduced giving capacity, reduced spending capacity, and what that means for Freemasonry and the James Webb Space Telescope. Exclusively men in the order. So Freemasonry is not exclusively for men. The Masonic Lodge, to which I belong, and AF and AM Freemasonry is exclusively for men. However, there is the Order for Women Freemasons. There is also the Order of Eastern Star. There is also the International Association for Rainbow, which is a youth group for young women ages 9 to 21. There's also DMOLA, which is the youth group for young men ages 9 to 21, if I'm getting those ages correct. So Freemasonry is not exclusive for men. I'm a big proponent of supporting Eastern Star, supporting Rainbow, supporting Order of Women Freemasons, which is recognized in England, for example. But, when I do, to be fair, when I do speak of Freemasonry, as a default, I tend to be thinking of the fraternal side of it, the fraternity, which is male only. I am one subscription away from 2,470 subs. So If you have not done so yet, please hit the like and subscribe button. It is not a secret society. Some people will call it a society with secrets. Some will call it a private society. But if it was a secret society, right, would I be able to talk about it openly? Would our Masonic building have the square and compasses right on the front doors? You know, etc., etc., etc. So it is not a secret society. Some will say it's a society of secrets. I just say it is a society that has private elements to it. Thank you. We got up to our 2,470 subs, so thank you so much for that. And don't forget, the other thing you can do is support me by following me on Instagram. I will be doing an Instagram live from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. in about 2 weeks. So I hope you guys will find me then. And then the next 24-hour live stream will be August 21st, 2 p.m. I'm going to try to do regular 24-hour live streams the 21st of every month. I'm going to see how that goes. I can't make any promises. It'll go well, but we're going to see if I can do it. That I know of, that I can talk about, Brad Paisley. Right? I mean, there may be some celebrities who don't want to mention they're Freemasons, which is fine. Not every Mason needs to say he's a Mason. That's perfectly fine. But I know Brad Paisley is a Freemason. He's talked about it in the past online, so. Brad Paisley, he's a musician. He's a country musician. It is. Illuminati was kind of almost a Masonic group that started by, I forget the date. Let me double check. 1777, I think. Adam Weishaupt. Starting in the 18th century. He was a Freemason who grew to not like Freemasonry for different reasons and started his own group. It really hasn't been in existence, to my knowledge, since the late 19th century. It was not. I mean, let me double check the name. You can pick different people and different times, but let me just. The Grand Lodge of England was formed in 1717, and at June 24, 1717, at the Goose and Gridiron, and the first Grand Master was Anthony Sayer, elected June 24, 1717, Goose and Gridiron Ale House. So the simplest person would be Anthony Sayer, but again, it may have started when in the 16th century, when the very first Masonic Lodge of Stonemasons welcomed in their first speculative Mason. But Anthony Sayer is who we'll go with. I mean, if you like history, then you'll love Freemasonry, because there's a lot of cool history in Freemasonry. It's one of the best parts about it, right? A lot of people join for that reason, because they so enjoy history. We are going to give this another, let's say, couple minutes to see if we get any other questions, and then we'll probably end this stream. But be back at 1 a.m., so you can find me then. I appreciate that, Lapis. I enjoy it, and it's a fun thing to talk about. And so, and I love talking to people. I love being on YouTube and chatting with people on the stream. That's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of things I love about it, right? Which you kind of have to, right? Because it gets hard. So if you don't love it, you're going to burn out. Even if you love it, you're still going to burn out, to be honest. But it's a whole separate can of tuna. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But I do hope everybody is doing well. And thank you again, everybody, for being part of this stream. Oh, DJ Needle is back. I'm going to send you a message, DJ. I'm wondering, since we can't do what we had wanted to with the program and having a table, maybe I can get Border Cities Lodge to have a table there. See if we can't do something. When would you need to know by? Because I know it's coming up in like less than a week. So maybe I could let you know in a couple days if I can get Border Cities to do anything. Anti-hero. No answer to what? Did you leave a message and I missed it? Welcome, by the way, Anti-hero. Hope you hit the like and subscribe button. I don't see anything from you, Anti-hero, so I'm not sure if you posted something and I missed it. Oh. Well, Anti-hero, you are going to be very disappointed in me because I am going to have to tell you that we do not worship the devil. So, you know, you can view that as a lie if you so desire, but it is the truth. We do not worship the devil. We do not worship anything, or any one thing, I should say. We as Freemasons will believe in a supreme being, but each of us believes in his own supreme being. So that can include the Catholic traditions, Christian traditions, in general, right? Christian or Catholic specifically, or Protestant, Muslim, Jewish, First Nations, Indigenous, etc., etc. Yeah, people be running out. So, DJ, when would you need to know if we want a Masonic Lodge to have a table at the festival? When would we need to let you know by? Yes, we cannot wait to see Lapis, we're going to wait to see Courtney get his degree. I know you're going to have an excellent, excellent time. This is not Rondo, but I will be having my 24-hour live stream on August 21st. I'll be starting it at 2 p.m. I'll be going from 2 p.m. the 21st to 2 p.m. the 22nd. I'm going to be showing off all of my different Masonic items, regalia, pins, coins, programs. It's going to be an absolute blast. And so, yeah, that is going to be August 21st at 2 p.m. August, I had the dates. Let me get the dates again. Hold on just 1 second. August 20th, I'll be doing an Instagram live from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. August 21st, start of the 24-hour live stream. August 16th, I'll be live streaming from the Windsor Hip Hop Festival from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. thereabouts. So check out all of those. But yeah, it's going to be fun, and I have so many items to show off. Who knows? That might take 24 hours in and of itself. Just showing off all of my different Masonic items and regalia might take a fair bit of time in and of itself. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate that very much. That guy who asked why do we worship the devil, and I responded we didn't, and he did not get back to me. Wondering how much longer it's going to take before if he comes back on or not. Looks like he did run out of the stream, so. Mr. Keeps on Ticking says, wait. All right, I will wait for a second, just so you jump on. August 21st, starting at 2 p.m., and it'll go till August 22nd at 2 p.m. Well, I hope you'll join. Obviously I don't expect you to join for the 24-hour live stream. But, join for parts. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be partially on my laptop, partially on my phone. And also, we're going to try the 3-hour live stream on Instagram. So, that'll be a lot of fun as well. And then, like I said, we'll be back 1 a.m. this morning. I'll be doing the live stream from the Windsor Hip Hop Festival. Right now I'm on my cell phone, but I'm on a laptop right now. I agree, I don't have the best setup. By all means, if you have any advice on terms of the best types of setup, I'd love it. Well, KABBAB. Well, thinking about your mom. How about that one? Great. Well, what's the one suggestion you would have for the setup right now, if you could change one thing about it? All right, KA. Let's just put you in a timeout over here. Oh, looks like Lapis got it there. well, all Freemasons are a little bit crazy. You know, it makes it more fun. What is a capture card? I've never heard of that before. I mean, aren't all Freemasons, Rondo? Aren't we all that way? All right, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed learning about my trip, all that good jazz. I will be, like I said, back on tonight at 1 a.m. Oh, they're showing me plenty of respect, and I appreciate it. I'll be back for my stream at 1 a.m. and then I will be rocking out the coming events. I'll talk about them more in this morning as well. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see everybody potentially tonight at 1 a.m. And Courtney, you're gonna have a blast. Enjoy it. We're all proud of you. All right, thank you guys so much. Bye.